Welcome to the first in a continuing series of After Effects tutorials. These tutorials are designed to be very short and granular so that you can go straight to a subject. This one is called Getting Started, and the goal of this lesson is to identify the main components that you need to know about in order to use After Effects. Now, After Effects is a very big piece of software. It's designed for visual effects, motion graphics, and certain types of animation. It has a lot of different users, which means it has a lot of different functions, most of which you don't need to know about, especially when you're getting started. So let's identify the main components that you must know in order to use this software. The first one is the composition window. This is what your audience sees. Everything that you're showing somebody is going to be in the composition window, and you'll export that. If we go to the composition pull down, you can go to the composition settings and see the size and the properties of your composition. You can change all of that in here if you need to. Below it is the timeline. Nothing happens up here in the composition window unless it's directed to do so in the timeline. So let's look at an example of that. I'm pulling the playback head right now and you're not seeing anything. That's because the ball is just sitting there in the center of the composition. But if I move the content in this layer, which is the image of a ball, up to 12 frames, you'll see that nothing shows up, and then what's going to happen now is the ball shows up. After Effects is a very direct piece of software. It doesn't do anything that you don't tell it to do, and it all happens in that timeline. So whenever people have problems, like if somebody's going, what happened to the ball? I can't see it. They're looking here, I'm looking here and going, well, it's not in the timeline right there. So move it back and you'll see, oh, you want the ball to show up right now, boom, it shows up. So this is where everything happens. The stuff that you're using is in the project bin. You import items into the project bin either by dragging them directly from a folder into the project bin or using the import function from the file menu. So all of your content is in here. And let's just drag something else over here. So you'll see, like, I dragged a picture of a basketball court, and you can see, like, well, what happened to the basketball? This layer structure is similar to the one in Photoshop. It's hierarchical. The ball is still there. It's just being hidden by this image. But if I change the hierarchy by moving this up above it, you'll see, oh, there's the ball. Now, we'll be getting into all of those controls for the layers in a specific lecture just about the timeline and the layers, and the same thing with the project bin. So again, these are all very granular lessons. Up here is the toolbar. There are a bunch of tools in here, many of which you'll never use. You probably will not. I hardly ever use any of those. I use that. I use the pen tool a lot. Text tool if I need text, of course. That, I've never used those. This, the roto tool and the puppet tool, I use quite a bit. We'll be getting into those in other lectures. And let's run through the main menu bar. File, basic stuff that you'll find in any software. File, create projects, save projects, things like that. Edit, copy, cut, paste. Split layer is the same as an edit in, when you want to cut a piece of footage in Premiere, you use a cutting tool of some kind. They have split layer in After Effects. I'm going to undo that. Composition, we already pulled this down. Again, you probably won't ever be using most of these things below, but you'll be creating new compositions. We'll go in that in another lecture as well. Layer, there are a bunch of layer controls in here. I hardly ever use any of those. I use this one a lot. Position, you can give the position. Time, if you need to like play footage backwards or do time ramping, that's in there. The rest of the stuff I hardly ever use. Effects, use this a lot because that's part of After Effects. There's a lot of effects that you're going to be using. Animation is not cartoons. It just means the ability to animate using keyframes, which could be for creating a blur over time or having something be invisible and then slowly fade in. Those are done through keyframing, and there's things in here like keyframe assistance and things like that. View, it's just basic stuff. You can go through that and look at that. And under window, good example of like things like, I've never used libraries. I've never used Lumetri scopes. You might get into Lumetri scopes if you're doing color correction. I've never used it. Mask interpolation, no, never. Most of these things I've never used. You're seeing the set of mostly what I use is already turned on. I hardly ever use things over here. These are usually for properties, for objects. If you typed in some text and you wanted to change the font, that would show up over here. Anyway, that's the basic components. Let's just go over them real quick. Composition window, you have to have one in order, that's the whole purpose of the software. Controlling the composition window happens down here in the timeline with layer controls. We'll be going into those in another lecture. What's in the timeline is over here in your project bin, and then tools that help you change or alter the way, can be accessed through the toolbar or through things like adding an effect. That's the basic components. Don't overwhelm yourself with trying to learn everything all at once. Just start simple, and we'll do that in the next lecture.
If you like this video, like and subscribe, of course. And also check out my AI tutorials where I use a lot of After Effects along with AI to create some, maybe some cool stuff. And I also show you places where AI is not up to speed yet.